Good evening, everybody. This is Tal Schnell. I'm here with LeadWithGiantsTV. Welcome, everybody. We're excited to have everybody here. Grab your favorite drink, coffee, tea, or cocktails, alcohol, whatever fits the mood now. It's already 5 o'clock somewhere, or maybe not. Arizona time, what time is it, 4 o'clock there?
It's 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Almost 5 o'clock. But I'm really thrilled to have a personal friend here, Steve Broe, executive coach, speaker, and author. And what we'll do real quick is make sure that we are introducing everybody first. We'll do two segments. The first segment is going to be about his Leaders in Transition book. Great book that is an amazing read about personal stories about career change that helps the question, how do you become a leader after a career change successfully? But I'd like to turn it over a little bit here and have Steve introduce a little bit of yourself to the audience.
Thanks, Tal. Well, I live in Arizona. I'm passionate about helping people become leaders. Around 2009, I started going through a personal upheaval, and the financial markets were going through a big upheaval. And I knew that we were facing a period in history where a lot of people were going to be redefining the way they worked. So I said, how can I help people who need to reestablish their work in a meaningful way and become a leader? So I began asking a lot of people that I knew. I began looking for people who'd gone through big career changes, and I asked them a series of questions. I was very methodical about it, asking them, how do you go through a career change and reestablish yourself as a leader? And that's the story of the book. I became very fascinated by it, and I found 5 factors which really help to define how people go through a transition and make a difference in a new phase of their career.
Great. We'll come back to those topics real quickly for you. And let me go around the room and have everybody else introduce themselves, where you're hanging out from. Let's go ahead and start with the powerhouse there. Bring back your desire. Andy Lyons.
Hey everyone, Andy Lyons, hailing from Boston Strong here in Massachusetts. Always thrilled to hang with the Lead with Giants group and learn more about leadership. Thank you for having me here, Tal.
Great. And the main of Lead with Giants community, Mr. Dan Forbes.
Hey, everybody. I am Dan Forbes, and I am hanging out from beautiful, sunny Sarasota, Florida. I'm founder of the Lead with Giants community, which you can find on Google+, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And we help leaders become better leaders. Good to be here with you, Tal, and Steve, and Andy, and Liz.
Great. No, my youngest brother said he saw your name, I think, on one of the things I was looking at. He said, his name is really Dan Forbes? And he said, yes, this is a really cool name to have.
Wow. I didn't.
So
Wow,
that was kind of neat. Yeah, he said, that's a cool name to have. So I said, well, he's kind of cool guy. So,
all right. I'll send the checks in the mail.
There you go. I'm looking forward to those checks.
Yeah.
But let me turn over to Liz Stinselli. Go ahead.
I'm Liz Stinselli with Stinselli Advisors, and I'm joining you tonight from not quite so sunny Salt Lake City, Utah. Glad to be here.
You guys have some rain?
Got some rain and some wind today.
That's what we had a couple of days ago, but we got the summer-like weather today, so it's nice. And we have Nathan with us, but unfortunately, due to technical, he's not with us on live, but he's with us in spirit and watching us go through the interview. So
yes, and he's introducing himself in the comments. Nathan Whittington from Fort Worth, Texas.
Says, I'm passionate about consumer behavior fortified with strategic marketing. I'm in a job transition and looking forward to hearing some good stuff today. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that. That's the wonderful thing about connecting with people in the community, which is part of the topic of the conversation also in the book that Steve Broe wrote about, Career Changes, is about connecting with people. It does help the career change transition, so it's a good topic to have. But Steve, your book is amazing. Congratulations on that. I know you're working on another book at this time, but this was a wonderful piece because you actually interacted with You're welcome. You interacted with 33 leaders who went through career change successfully. But my takeaway was the personal stories about how people didn't really lose the fire. You know, the fire may have been out, but they overcome a lot of difficulties, and they kept what I call a higher level of serving. They found that connecting through their purpose, their passion, that there is something bigger that comes along the way. Share some of those things that you saw as you wrote the book and you felt through those interactions.
Does everyone know the work of Joseph Campbell? The idea of there is a call to a hero in everyone's life, and I see the call to be a leader in its biggest form, a Joseph Campbell type experience, to say, I have a certain level of life right now that's been satisfying up until this point. I'm looking ahead. I'm getting a call to be of service. I'm getting a call to make a meaningful contribution. And when one walks into that space, it is so fulfilling, so energizing that one wants to work their heart out to make a difference. And I've found that over and over with people.
And this is great because one personal story that you share is about Nathan in the hospital, how, you know, there was a way for him to connect after all. He did come back to his passion and purpose, and found a way to connect with the nurses, but giving them the tools that they need. But so he didn't really focus on himself. He focused on what others needs, right?
Nathan remains a very good friend of mine. He was fired from the largest pediatric hospital in Philadelphia, and he was head of training and nursing development, the number 2 in the department. And after working there 15 years, he was told, goodbye, you know, it's been nice working with you. And he wanted to help the nursing profession become an even greater experience, so he dedicated his time to saying, how do I help nurses become leaders in what they do? So he built a consulting practice out of that. He wrote several books. He established seminars. And now he's a freelance, independent nursing leader. He gets hired by different organizations, and he's got an incredible career. I need to catch up and spend a few more time talking about him because his career continues to evolve.
That's great, and other stories are just as powerful as Nathan's story that you share in the book. I want to turn it over to our panel so they can ask some questions here as well. Let's start with going around from left to right here. Andy Lyons, go ahead if you've got a questions or a comment.
Oh, I just love your work, Steve, especially helping people understand that they can begin anew and become an expert in their field and grow and build a platform and have a wonderful leadership experience no matter how old they are or what age. It seems that along the lines of Joseph Campbell that you really are embracing the fact that it's never ever too late to pursue a dream. And with the right passion, there is that lurking in each of us. What was your favorite story? I mean, I know you can't pull one out as a favorite, but what was the most meaningful story that you share in your book?
I was touched by a lady who started her career as a secretary to an insurance agent, and after a number of years she was offered the chance to pass her insurance license on her own. She built her business, expanded her insurance business, was invited to join the Chamber of Commerce in her city. After that, they said, you should run for city council. This is a lady who started out as a secretary to an insurance agent. And more recently, she was signing contracts for sports stadiums here in Glendale, Arizona. An amazing career trajectory. I'm just in awe of what she was able to do. There's another man I knew who started his career as a police officer, became an entrepreneur, sold his business, made a lot of money, was sitting in church and said, I'm getting called to help this church expand. And he volunteered his time, or he became an employee of the church as the executive director of the church. What a change from becoming a police officer to a financial consultant to a serial entrepreneur, and now helping a church with its mission. He's moved on now to another phase of his career, and I know becoming an author is part of what he's doing.
Thank you. You've inspired me on writing my own book now. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Andy. I'll look forward to that.
Because really, I was called to do the work I'm doing now, and had you told me that ahead of time, I would have just checked into the Betty Ford Clinic. But you don't know what you're going to be called to do, and I think we need to stay open in how we serve. And I love that story, both the stories that you shared. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
I think all of us, one time or another, going through those career changes, but we'll dig into that a little bit later. Dan, do you have a question or feedback for us, comment?
Yes, absolutely. Of course.
Dan, it's great to talk to you today.
Yeah, Steve, really great to hang out with all of you guys. But Steve, this is the first time you and I have been together in a hangout. One of the things that is certainly common today and becoming more common is people changing careers and moving to new opportunities, some within the same industry and others changing industry. I believe the average that they are projecting is about every 4 years. People will be changing jobs. I have my own story about transition, and those transitions still continue. 20 years I was a minister, I was a pastor, and went through a career change and went into business. Was a real estate agent, a realtor, broker, then owned my own brokerage business right up to the real estate crash in 2007. And then I went into the securities industry, financial services, where I've been since that time, and now also doing coaching. So each of those has been a change, and the way I made the transition was different each time. So I'm wondering, in your research, were you able to find people that had made multiple changes, and how would you address that issue that whatever you used as a pathway or an introduction this time might be completely different the next time?
Dan, what I discovered is that there are some people who seem to be very resilient and looking forward to multiple changes in their life. I've been 35 years with my family business, and I didn't make many changes. Well, I made a few departures from that, but I stayed fairly close to the path. But there are some people who seem to choose freely a redefining of themselves every 5 years or so. And you seem to be one of those people. I'm not sure. I didn't particularly address that question of the concept of serial entrepreneur came up for me over and over again as I talked, and there are new possibilities of what could be explored either by myself or other people.
Well, my changes were somewhat forced upon me. So the change from ministry to business was due to a divorce, and so that was I had to make a change, but I had to decide, well, what am I going to do next, and how do I take those skills that I had and use them, and what could I envision myself doing or becoming? And
Dan, if I can add to that, I discovered a lot of people, especially with the research I'm doing right now, a lot of people have had upheaval forced on them, and they didn't expect or anticipate the changes, but there was something so compelling that they had to make a change. And I've gone through that experience myself. So many people start up a business or embark on a new path because something forces them to make that change, and it's not something they had chosen beforehand.
Right. And then the last for me is more of a misalignment of values, and also I'm coaching an executive right now who is struggling with that own issue, with that issue that he has, where his values are quite different from the values of the company that he's working with, and it's a real struggle going on with him about, does he stay, does he look for other opportunities?
That's a big issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to be pure to what you've got inside of you in a context that doesn't appreciate you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll let someone else have the floor, but thanks, Tal.
Great. Let's go over to Liz.
Steve, in your book, that you suggest that we need to change our metaphor for working, and I was just wondering if you could just briefly talk about that and why it's important.
I found that as I made a career transition, I changed how I thought about myself. I started telling myself different stories about who I was and where I was going. And I think many people have their own metaphor they create about their personal journey. I ask people to, thank you for reminding me. It's been a while since I've talked to anyone about that question, but I think it's really valuable to explore what are the stories we're telling ourselves about what we're doing. And are we reminding ourselves about where we've been, or are we future oriented? Are we telling ourselves descriptors and metaphors that point us in the future in the direction we want to go? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. And
Okay.
it's good to see you again, Liz.
You too, Steve.
Great. This is the wonderful part about connecting in our community. You get to meet other people, other leaders, and I actually have to say that just networking with a lot of folks here in the community has definitely increased my Facebook people all across the board. So, but why don't we conclude here to segment 1? We'll continue on segment 2. So what I'll do is go ahead and invite everybody again for segment 2. Okay?
Perfect.
All right.